Atheist Nomads, episode 368. Even most Christians think churches shouldn't be exempt from COVID regulations.
The podcast you're about to listen to includes cursing and talking about hoo-haws. Please be advised.
Welcome to another episode of Atheist Nomads. I am Dustin, and joining me, like most times, is Lauren.
I don't know. If you actually go back and count, I may not be most nowadays, but I'm here today.
It all depends on the time period we're looking at.
That's true.
Yeah, so we went camping, finally.
Finally.
It was nice. We went further and rougher on road-wise than we probably should have.
Yeah, it was great.
Pushed the limit, and it was awesome.
Yeah, it was. I got to dig up rocks, which was sweet. Got to dig them with my sister, who's also into rocks, which is even sweeter. And in the meantime, Kylie got to pick and eat a forest's worth of huckleberries.
Yeah.
So she was a happy camper, literally.
She was. We had one issue with our heater.
Oh, you mean it catching on fire?
Yeah.
While we were gone?
Yep. Yeah, that kind of sucks.
Yeah, it does. But now we know, and we'll be hopefully getting a new heater soon that won't explode.
Yeah. It didn't explode, and there wasn't much risk of explosion, but it did.
There was no risk of it catching on fire either, and it still managed to do that.
Yeah.
So it's all relative.
True. So yeah, that was exciting to discover. The fire put itself out, and it didn't damage anything other than the heater.
And my sense of security.
But it did freak us out and smelled really, really bad.
Yeah. It could have been a disaster.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
Yeah. But I still got some cool rocks.
Oh yeah. Yeah. All in all, it was a good time.
Yeah, and it was nice. It was fairly cool. Got cold, downright cold on one day. Isn't that the hottest times of summer, and you get up to the mountains to get away from it, only to find yourself freezing in the middle of the night, and you're like, oh no!
Yeah.
Too far the other way, too far. Smoky as hell right now.
Oh man, it really is.
Well, actually, it's not. It's not that smoky compared to other years. But still affects my breathing. I'm still having a hard time keeping up this conversation.
And we still aren't into peak fire season yet.
No, but usually it starts in early July, not mid-August.
Yeah.
People are always complaining about Californians coming up here. Now we just have to worry about their smoke.
Before we get to the news, we have something from history we need to talk about. What started in really picking up pace in 1848 with the Seneca Falls Convention, that finally happened 72 years later on August 18, 1920, when Tennessee became the final state necessary to ratify the 19th Amendment, granting the right to vote to all women.
Yeah, that was kind of a big deal all through the 1800s.
Yep.
Watch your Mary Poppins. I always forget that that's like a major theme in the Mary Poppins movie, is the suffragettes. The mom is awesome.
Yeah. And 72 years is what it took from the Seneca Falls Convention to finally get that to happen. That's a long time.
That's slow. That's a generation.
72 years, that'd be grandchildren or even great-grandchildren of the women that were there.
Yep.
Were alive.
Or rather, the men who passed it.
Yeah.
They were finally able to say, oh, yeah, well, granddad was old-fashioned. He was just, a product of his time. It's about time we pass this thing. Unfortunately, you could never convince grandpa to change that.
Yeah.
Makes Thanksgiving real awkward.
Which is what makes it even more awesome that Joe Biden picked Kamala Harris to be his running mate. Not only a woman, but a woman of color.
Yeah. She's badass.
Yeah. On the head-scratchingly weird side of things, Donald Trump pardoned Susan B. Anthony.
And okay, so when I read this, I had the gut reaction of like, oh, well, finally. I'm surprised nobody's done that before. And then I started to read the arguments as to why that was a terrible, terrible idea. And I'm like, oh, wait, no, they all have very, very good points here. And I rescind that opinion because, oh my God.
So, yeah, she was arrested for illegally voting in 1872.
Whoop, whoop.
That was in her hometown of Rochester, New York.
Okay. Breaking the law, breaking the law.
And is bizarre that was tried in federal court.
So what was the process that it went to federal court? Were the local judges like, nope, not touching this one with a 10-foot pole?
It was the Enforcement Act of 1870, also known as the First Ku Klux Klan Act or Force Act.
Ooh.
It was passed to allow the president to enforce the first section of the 15th Amendment across the United States. The 15th Amendment guaranteeing the right to vote to all men.
Okay.
It was a law intended to stop white supremacists from keeping black men from voting.
Yeah. So instead, they used it to keep women from voting.
It should never have been used for that.
No, that's the problem when you symbolically use the term man to represent humanity, and why people are a little more careful with their verbiage.
Right. And especially since with the 15th Amendment, they were not symbolically using the term man. They were specifically.
That's true. Yeah.
But yeah, so she was tried in federal court. That was bullshit.
Did the president sue her directly? Since that's what the law give him the power to do, apparently.
Oh, the law giving the president power enables U.S. attorneys to handle it.
Oh, okay. Okay. Because that sounds pretty petty to me, but.
And then she was ordered to pay a fine of $100.
Okay.
She didn't.
She's so awesome.
So, Donald Trump decided to use the power of pardon for this.
Which happens a lot. A lot of people, the person who's been dead for 100 years and the president will give a symbolic pardon. This kind of stuff is just, it's a human interest story in the tabloids of politics.
Yeah, but it's not that common to use the pardon power on dead people.
No? I figure that that's something that they do for people who were tried and convicted under bad laws. And
very, very rare that would ever happen. Because, and in part...
Which is, I guess, why when somebody does do it, it is newsworthy.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen very often. Okay.
This is the second time that Trump has pardoned a dead person. The last one was a boxer who in the 1920s was arrested for traveling across state lines with his white girlfriend. He was black.
Yeah.
So Trump is trying to do symbolic things to say that women, he's got women's back and he's got the back of black people. And when no, these are completely symbolic.
Yeah.
Meaningless.
Puff pieces.
And also questionably valid because inherent in a pardon is the person admitting and accepting guilt.
Oh. I didn't know that.
Yeah. That is one of the reasons why the New York lieutenant governor in particular is taking Trump to task over this.
Because if you were to ask Susan B. Anthony if what she did was wrong, she would straight up say no.
Right. If you
asked her if she regretted it, she would say no.
Right.
If asked if she would do it again, she would say yes.
And if you were to ask her if she felt that she broke that law, she would have said no. Because she understood the law to mean the federal government had the right to prevent black men from being blocked from voting. That had nothing to do with women. That it was a law to help people be able to vote, not a law to keep people from voting. And so she would have held that she was innocent.
And never accepted a pardon.
And she wouldn't have accepted a pardon.
It's so Trump. It's so Trumpian.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, he would go down to a hurricane-stricken town in the South and say, "Here, let me help you get warm by lighting this cross on your yard." He just misses it.
I don't think any of it's missing it.
You think he is doing this on purpose? Or do you think he's being directed to do this on purpose by PR people?
My honest opinion is that Trump is bad enough that and arrogant enough that he thinks that everything he's doing is a good idea. And he has surrounded himself by people who cannot tell him he's wrong. So nobody will tell him that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
So he sees, Susan B. Anthony was arrested on federal charges. Hey, here's a chance to use the pardon power for someone other than a friend.
Yeah.
Because other than that, he only uses it for his friends and golf buddies.
Yeah. Which, don't get me started on. Maybe I should just change the name of the podcast to "Don't Get Me Started." ... Because, oh my gosh.
Ah, man. Sticking with Trump, Robert Jeffress, who is a Dallas, Texas megachurch pastor.
Okay.
First Baptist Church of Dallas would be the specific one. And a member of Trump's, super bullshit pastors group thing.
Pastors on call?
Yeah. And so Jeffress has now said that only evangelicals who have, quote, sold their soul to the devil, end quote, will vote for Joe Biden.
Yeah, something along those lines has been said a couple of times, because I believe that that's been said about Democrats. You know, you have only Christians who sold their soul to the devil will vote for a Democrat. That's a pretty common one. Now that we officially have a Democratic nominee, makes it a little bit more pinpointed, but
yeah, this was a couple weeks ago. He did this on Lou Dobbs' show on Fox Business.
Oh my God! What?
Not Fox News, Fox Business.
Yeah. What on Lou? What? Okay. I didn't realize that Fox Business Lou Dobbs had gone that far off the rails.
Why? Why would you say this on the business channel?
Maybe they thought that it would fly under the radar. Because nobody trusts Fox News anymore. But Fox Business, you can get all sorts of pundits on there, and they haven't been disqualified yet.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so
how much do you think Lou Dobbs is banging his head into a desk for that
one? Yeah, probably is.
Yeah.
And of course, Jeffress has also said a lot of really bad things or stupid things. Previously, it's been that all Jews and Mormons go to hell.
Yeah.
That Obama was the precursor to the Antichrist.
Oh, he wasn't just straight up the Antichrist? Because that's what most people were saying.
Yeah. That LGBT people need rescuing from Satan's deception.
That sex is fun.
That God designated the borders of the United States.
Oh.
Manifest destiny.
Yeah.
Yep. And that there will be civil war if Trump is removed from office.
He does realize the borders have changed, right? And are likely to change more.
Designed the current borders, which have been stagnant for...
Well, since Hawaii and Alaska, technically, right?
Well, okay.
But
that also depends on how do you define the borders of the United States.
Right. Are we counting the American imperialism that occurred, or...
Because if we count territories, the U.S. borders have changed as recently as 1992.
Yeah. And like I said, are liable to change more.
Mm-hmm. If you're only counting states, that last changed in 1959.
That's fairly recent for an act of God.
If you're counting incorporated territory, that's been more stable, going back to like 1901.
Yeah, it's still in the 1900s though. That's just seems...
Yeah.
But, you know, anything... And Texas? Or is this the Texas guy?
He's from Texas, yeah.
So, I mean, it was a flip of a coin whether or not he was going to be Mexican. So, I mean, come on.
Yeah. And also Jefferson's church got up to $5 million in bailout funds.
Well, duh. Everybody who is in Trump's pocket got that.
Oh, yeah.
Because that poor little mega church is going to have to pay their employees.
Jerry Falwell Jr.
Oh, God, him again?
Also a friend of Donald Trump.
And part of the Pastors on Call group.
Yeah. It was the Evangelical Advisory Council as part of the 2016
protecting
campaign.
Trump from the devil. And
it was how to teach him how to win over evangelicals. Since somebody who has likely never actually stepped foot in a church.
Or at least doesn't know how to act in one.
Or hasn't stepped in one many times. Yeah. Like, I know I've been to church more than Donald Trump has in my lifetime.
Yeah, but I mean...
Almost everyone has been to a church more than him.
Yeah.
So that's just, I still think that's funny. But so Jerry Falwell Jr. has taken an indefinite leave of absence from Liberty University.
That's still around? I thought that got shut down.
No. Nope. It's around. It's open. They have students on campus.
Wow.
They do not require masks.
I'm sorry, but if you're paying money to go to Liberty University, there's no hope for you anyway. I disagree on that one. True. Most people who are probably going to Liberty University are too young to know any better.
we have had Liberty University graduates, at least one Liberty University graduate on the podcast.
Okay.
And I am still paying money for having gone to a Christian school.
Yes.
So.
But Liberty University in particular.
If you're in the right kind of evangelical circles, that is the equivalent to what Walla Walla was for me.
Yeah, okay.
So, yeah, the schools put him on indefinite leave of absence. Nobody knows how long that means. They didn't fire him from being president of the school. They are not replacing him as president of the school. He is just on a leave of absence. So, do you want to guess why?
Got the COVID?
Nope.
Got busted for tax evasion?
Nope. He got caught with his pants down.
Oh. With a boy?
No, actually, it was a young woman.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Not much better, but.
It was a picture he posted on Instagram.
Fuck! These people are so fucking stupid.
On a friend's yacht with his arm around a woman who is not his wife, both of them with their shirts pulled up so their bellies are exposed, and with their flies down and folded back.
Okay. That's interesting.
While holding a drink that clearly looks like it's booze.
Well, yeah. But, I'm sorry, I'm so used to, like, actual dick pics. This just seems rather tame.
Yeah. It is fairly tame.
It also seems rather immature.
Other than the fact that he publicly posted evidence that he is
fraternizing with another woman?
Not living up to Liberty University's standards. If he'd kept that all quiet and private, odds of them caring would have been much lower.
Yeah.
The fact that he posted it to fucking Instagram, that's what the problem was.
What a trash heap.
Yeah.
This is why they need to teach kids in school, middle school, you know? Never put it on the internet. It stays there forever, and anybody can find it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Come on. There we go.
He's not even that old. I mean, he should know better.
I know. He really should.
Ugh.
He's the head of a university. He should know how this stuff works.
What happens on the yacht stays on the yacht.
Oh, and with the Postal Service
scandal,
Trump and his donor turned Postmaster General, who, for the record, is the first and up to this point in time only Postmaster General to be a purely political appointee and not a career postal worker.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he does own a company that delivers letters and packages. So, I mean, that's kind of...
Yeah. Yeah. And he gave...
Which also should have excluded him from the position.
And he gave Trump's campaign a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
He has been cutting hours, removing sorting machines, doing everything he can.
Massive amounts of sorting machines.
Yeah.
And funny that he's only seems to be he's removing the bulk of them from places that voted Bill Clinton. Huh. Weird.
Yeah.
Traditionally blue areas. That's so not suspicious at all.
And swing states.
Yeah.
He's hitting the swing states pretty hard too.
So everybody came out and said, oh man, this COVID is awful. We better start doing mail-in voting.
Mm-hmm.
And Trump has been throwing a temper tantrum ever since.
Yep.
And it's working. It's distracting people away from all the people that are dying from COVID.
And if he's successful, will keep people from being able to vote.
Yep. Get your ballot. Find out where you need to drop it off locally. Drop it off. You don't have to talk to the people. You don't have to come in contact with them. They'll have boxes there to accept ballots.
Well, first find out if you can.
Mm.
The other thing
That's
is
true.
Vote. Fill out your ballot the day it arrives.
Yeah.
Do not wait. Pennsylvania, right, last I heard, is mail's 2 weeks behind.
Yeah.
Michigan's around the same. And in states that have vote by mail as the standard, it's the postmark date that matters. Absentee ballot states, which is what most of the vote by mail going on this year is just absentee ballots. Most of those require that it be received by Election Day.
Yeah. I understand kind of the reasoning behind needing stuff done by Election Day, because you need to be able to call it.
Actually, you don't.
But how many times have those numbers been disagreed and they had to, very rarely do they call it on the night of the election.
When it's a landslide.
Sure.
And the only people calling it are the media. They're going off of exit polls to determine exit polls and reported counts as states are reporting stuff. But we won't know who the president is on election night.
Right. You should be able to be counting ballots, weeks after the election.
Till January 3.
Yeah. Because, unless you find some ballots floating off the coast of Florida.
It's due to the House of Representatives on January 3.
Yeah.
There is no need to have a count finished before then.
Unless it's corrupt and political and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, right. So with all this, it's rapidly changing as to what's going on. A bunch of states are suing the post office to try to stop all of this. The House is reconvening in the middle of their August recess to try to force postal service to be restored. And DeJoy, the Postmaster General, has now told Nancy Pelosi that he has no intention of replacing machines and blue boxes that have been removed.
Oh, okay. Yep. That's what I figured. People were reporting that he was reversing his...
reporting that he'd said that he won't be continuing to make changes.
Yeah.
He's
which
stopping
is not
the changes.
The same as reversing.
Yep.
He did as much damage as he could in 2 weeks, and now we're stuck with it.
Right. Because he wants the post office to be privatized.
Yep.
And has a business that is already doing contract work for the Postal Service that would presumably take it over.
Yeah.
And so that benefits him personally. And Trump just doesn't want people to be able to vote, because if enough people vote, he knows he will lose.
Yeah. It's a dictator on the run.
Last Thursday in Ohio at a Trump rally, Trump went off script, as he does, and saying that Biden, quote, is going to do things that nobody would ever think even possible because he's following the radical left agenda. Take away your guns, destroy your Second Amendment, no religion, no anything. Hurt the Bible, hurt God. He's against God. He's against guns. He's against energy, our kind of energy. I don't think he's going to do too well in Ohio. If he did, we'd have a big story. He's not going to do well.
Wow.
End quote.
People think that Biden is bad with his rambling. Nothing like Trump.
He's going to take away guns and the Bible and religion. Really?
Yeah.
Trump thinks a lifelong Catholic is going to take away the Bible and religion?
Yep. Just, take it away. It's just spewing words, sound bites, and it's like there's no intelligence there.
He's an entertainer and a bad one at that. So he's not going for saying what makes sense or is right, but what gets a reaction from the crowd.
Yeah, it's just when you imagine a cartoonish figure of an old man, doddering old man, just speaking nonsense, it sounds like a Trump speech.
Yeah, it really does.
Energy and guns, religion.
But anybody who's ever done public speaking quickly learns how to read the crowd. And people who do well at it read the crowd and adjust what they're saying to the crowd.
Right. So if they're getting bored, start spewing off random catchphrases.
Well, that wouldn't be anybody who's good at public speaking. But if you develop some public speaking skills and then completely lost your fucking mind when you start losing the crowd, yeah, you start rambling.
Yeah.
And rile them up. And since Trump has lost his fucking marbles, that's what he does. In Georgia, Marjorie Taylor Greene won the primary for her congressional district, won the Republican primary for her congressional district.
All right.
She is a QAnon supporter.
That shouldn't even be a thing.
She's promoted 9/11 conspiracies quite a few times.
Conspiracy theorist, yep. And she won?
Uh-huh.
All right.
And
way to show your colors, Georgia.
In early 2019, while working as a political commentator, she went to Washington, D.C. and tried, unsuccessfully, to confront Representatives Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib to force them to redo their oaths on a Bible. Claiming that they weren't legitimate members of Congress because they took their oaths on the Quran and not the Bible. And her plan was that if they refused, she was going to accuse them of being supporters of Sharia law and demand that they return to the Middle East.
Oh my God.
Neither of them are from the Middle East.
Yeah. But that oftentimes doesn't matter. It's not where you're from. It's where are you from?
Let's try.
Well, where are your parents from? Well, where are your grandparents from?
Africa. Not the Middle East. Not all Muslim.
I would even argue that saying Africa is a little generic.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter because in American culture, Muslim equals Middle East.
Ilhan Omar is a naturalized U.S. citizen who was born in Somalia.
Okay.
She is the first naturalized citizen of African birth and the first woman of color to be elected to an office in Minnesota.
Okay, well, Minnesota's pretty white. Well, that's not true. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But I always feel heartened when I see naturalized citizens running for this stuff because they've seen usually much worse political systems than what we have. And we need to be reminded of that sometimes.
And Rashida Tlaib was born in Detroit, Michigan.
Yeah.
Her parents immigrated from the Middle East.
Yeah. And like I said, it's not where you're from. It's where you're from.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is why we have birthers back.
Ugh. Oh my
Yeah.
God. The birther thing again.
But yeah, and Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib are among the most progressive members of Congress, promoting ideas and liberties that are far from Sharia law.
Mm-hmm.
These are not people who want to bring Sharia law to the United States.
If anything, they want to get further from it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
because religious laws tend to just not reflect well on society.
Yep. According to a new Pew Research Center poll,
You mean pew pew?
they found that Americans overwhelmingly support churches and other religious gatherings and organizations having to follow the same restrictions as any business. By overwhelming, we're talking 79%.
Yep.
Only 19% think that they should have more flexibility than other businesses.
Yeah, that makes me optimistic
Yeah.
about the state of affairs. That most people do recognize that praying in a church isn't going to keep the pandemic out. It's
So then when you narrow the group you're looking at to just Christians, it's about 3/4 who think churches should have to follow all the same rules. So down to about 75% from 79%.
okay.
So still
A vast majority.
Yeah. Yep.
And those are the ones who aren't going to church right now.
Right.
Because
Or they're going to churches that require masks and are
they're doing
enforcing
it as
distancing.
safely as possible. Yeah. Which is why church attendance is like nothing. But there's always those few, those couple mega churches, some backwater.
Oh, we're getting there. We're getting to that story.
Oh.
Evangelicals are the most supportive of giving churches more flexibility, yet still 62% of evangelicals think that churches should have to follow all the same rules. Every demographic thinks that churches should have to follow the same social distancing and hygiene rules as anywhere else.
Right. So where does that fall apart?
In elected leaders.
Yep. Because that's where the money is.
It's in Republican elected leaders.
They're so scared of losing a few votes that they're not willing to do what's right for the community as a whole.
Yeah. It's the 1/3 of evangelicals that they're afraid of. Yeah.
Which is why we need more elected officials who aren't afraid of that.
Now, interestingly, Jewish people, 80% think that they should have to follow the same rules as everybody else. 19% think they should have more flexibility, so about the same as all U.S. adults. People who are not affiliated with the religion, including atheists and agnostics, 89% think the same rules should apply. Only 10% think there should be more flexibility. Republicans,
I want to talk to those people.
those 10%.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like, why? Of course, that's assuming that somebody who's agnostic or atheist or not religious also doesn't fall into those conspiracy theories, and there's plenty of those people out there.
That's probably where the 10% is most.
The ones that think there are microchips in vaccines. Those are the ones that are out there. There's no talking to them.
And probably hardcore libertarians and Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you're looking at unaffiliated, you get into a much broader spectrum of crazy than, yeah.
Tinfoil hats.
Republicans, 65% think should follow the same rules. 33% think there should be more flexibility. Among Democrats, it's a 93-7 split.
Wow. So which party is the party of science and reason? There's room to argue that there, but typically
there's a little wiggle room on it. There's not really room to argue. In Alberta.
Oh, Canada. With
evangelist Chris Lindbergh had a gathering at his family farm in Deadwood, Alberta.
Okay. And I was like, is there a show based off this? A horror movie or something?
Not this specific event, no.
Maybe it should be.
And he thought about canceling the event, but the Lord spoke to him and told him they needed to go through with it. So he knew that God would protect, quote, I know that God will protect us and use us to shake this nation, end quote. So since then, and that event was from July 30 to August 2, they have now had 29 confirmed COVID-19 cases.
Yeah.
From this event.
Way to go.
Directly tied to this event. And he went ahead with it knowing God would protect them.
Yeah, of course this happens.
Uh-huh.
God doesn't believe in germ theory.
It's not in the Bible.
There is a movie, actually.
Is it about Deadwood, Alberta?
No, it's a Western about Deadwood in South Dakota.
Oh, okay. And the state of Mississippi has narrowed down to, like, they have officially retired their now old flag that includes the Confederate battle flag.
Okay.
So they've got 5 finalists on flag designs.
How many of them have a Confederate flag on them?
None.
Okay. It's like if you open up voting to the public and you end up with a ship called Bodie McBoatface.
One uses the same colors as their old flag.
Okay.
But
it looks like a nose.
With the Mississippi River going through it.
Mississippi River and a pretty flower.
Yep. They all have the magnolia.
Very nice.
They all have white stars. And they have a gold star that is... Actually, I think most of them have the Mississippi River in them. But yeah, they all have this gold star, a diamond-shaped star, 5 diamonds joined together to create the star.
Okay.
It is a symbol of the Choctaw Indians who still live in Mississippi.
Holy crap.
And their tribal chief, Cyrus Ben, was on the flag commission and says that this is a very significant symbol to his tribe. They use it in their clothing, their beadwork, their basket designs.
Oh my gosh.
And that it represents the eastern diamond-backed rattlesnake.
Oh, I am impressed.
And that is in all 5 designs.
Good for them.
Also on all 5 designs are the words, "In God We Trust."
Of course. I mean, I'd rather have "In God We Trust" than the Confederate flag at this point.
Yeah.
So, you got to pick your battles.
It's do you want a flag representing Christian nationalism or white Christian nationalism?
Yeah, it's a step in the right direction. But the star, that's really cool.
There's one that has the star above a shield with the Mississippi River in it. It's the one that has "In God We Trust" the biggest, but the shield is taken from the territorial seal.
Oh, it's wavy. It's got waves and
That's the river.
the river. That's cool.
Yeah. So yeah, "In God We Trust" is going to be on a flag.
Oh, I made the mistake of Googling Mississippi Star, and all you get is information on a boat. Oh, the Mississippi Star chemical/oil products tanker.
Oh. Now, I am not one to have particularly strong feelings about flag design, but I do have stronger than average feelings about it.
Like, eyebrows raised. I'm like, since when? Flags or maps are kind of your thing.
I have stronger than average feelings about them, and definitely much higher than average interest
Yes.
and intrigue. And when you put words on a flag, that is lazy. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Use symbols. Use simple symbols. And all of the flags in the Western United States with the state seal, the name of the state on a blue background, is the laziest flag design possible.
Who does that?
Idaho and about 15
They have the
other
state
states,
seal.
and it says the state of Idaho
Oh.
under the seal
Oh.
in big letters.
I gotta look this up because I'm sure he's right. I just want to see it for myself. State of Idaho. Oh, that's right. The little scrolly thing at the bottom.
Yep. That is super duper common. That's like all the old British territories that still have the Union Jack and a big blue background with some local symbol for their country because they couldn't figure out how to create a new flag. It's like, no. Lazy flags need to go away.
Okay, but to be fair, if it's already traditional, then
No, that's still just lazy. Flags can be changed. Mississippi's flag is traditional, and they're changing it.
okay.
Oregon's flag is very unique, but still they need to take the great state of Oregon off of it. And it's unique because the front side and back side are different.
Okay, yeah, that is makes it hard
The front side...
on middle school match quizzes.
So Oregon's another example of the boring, stupid flag with the state seal and a banner under it saying the state of Oregon underneath that on the front of the flag. The back has a beaver.
I like the beaver.
They need to drop the front of the flag and just have it be a golden beaver on a blue background. That's a great flag.
That's
It's a better flag.
So boring.
It's a much better flag.
I think people would argue with that. Are you on the subreddit for this?
No.
'Cause you need to be. There we go.
No, I really don't. I don't need more of this.
Okay. Okay.
And don't even get me started on California. ...
Don't get me started.
So, South Korea did an amazing job earlier this year with their first big coronavirus outbreak, all tied to a church, with contact tracing and targeted testing and isolation, and they managed to get it under control. And another church has had a big outbreak.
Oh, wow. Not learning from that mistake, huh, people?
457 infections so far tied to one church.
That's insane.
Yeah. South Korea is now looking at this as they can control this except for churches. So they are banning all religious meetings.
Why don't they just make the law equal to churches as well as businesses?
Because they know churches aren't going to follow that.
So they have to go stronger stance just to say, we're serious, people.
Yeah.
You keep messing this up for us.
If churches had followed the rules, they probably would be okay.
Yeah, but they did.
Churches
they don't.
aren't.
They don't.
So
and now they're going to end up looking like the U.S. Come on, guys. You don't want to look like the U.S., do you?
Now, other high risk, and this ban isn't just saying all religious meetings are banned. It's classifying religious meetings as high risk.
Okay.
All high risk activities and events are banned.
Okay.
That includes nightclubs, karaoke rooms, buffet restaurants, computer gaming cafes, and the like.
Yes.
And now, religious gatherings.
Okay. Internet cafe, religious gatherings.
Yep.
Are they really that different? There are so many lit up buttons over there that I want to push.
And in India, a 78-year-old priest in Gujarat's region of India's town of Ahmedabad died from COVID-19. So far, not particularly surprising. A 78-year-old dying of COVID-19.
Okay.
His nickname is PP Swami.
Okay.
So Swami, as we will call him, spent 2 weeks in a hospital.
You really don't want to call him PP?
Okay, PP. PP spent 2 weeks in a hospital. He got plasma therapy and ventilator support and then died. 10 other priests from Maninagar Sri Swaminarayan Gadi Samanthan
Gesundheit.
also tested positive. And as they've been digging in deeper, they've found that this godman,
PP,
has a practice of coating ladus, some ceremonial food thing, with saliva on his
he
birthday.
licks them.
Yep. So a priest who was unknowingly positive with COVID-19 was licking and or spitting on or in food items that he fed to thousands of people.
PP, more like spitty. That was weak, but yeah. I can see somebody getting convinced that, that it's a special blessing. They've always done that. I just also see that the people receiving that particular food item are not aware of that. And, once you lick something, you got to claim it as your own. You don't go around sharing that.
Right. That'd be like a Catholic priest licking the communion wafer before putting it in people's mouths.
Or my toddler licking anything, giving it to me without me knowing. Ooh, ladus look delicious. Oh, they're like little sweet treats. Little balls of sweet cheeks.
We got our first entry on the contest to win a signed copy of Chris Matheson's book, The Buddha's Story.
All right.
And I don't know if they just hadn't gotten around to slowing down the mail yet, or if they aren't bothering with Oregon and Idaho. Because Chris sent them and they were here in like 2 days. So I've got...
Thank you, Chris.
I have several copies sitting on the bookshelf.
Heck yeah.
Kylie got mad at me for taking them away from her when she was trying to claim them.
Yes.
And then was saying that they were mommy's books.
Right.
Because I usually yell at her about getting into mommy's books, and this one wasn't.
Yeah, but so several chances to win here, and I have to admit this first one's pretty good.
So yes, again, the contest is...
Made me chuckle, at least.
Yes. Who do you think is the worst person revered or worshipped by a modern religion who is a bum?
And, you have to... You can be very... the term bum is very open-ended here. Don't get specific on it, Dustin. You're going to ruin it.
I'm not going to.
Okay.
If you go with a definition of bum that doesn't quite feel like bum to me, I might ask you follow-up questions to justify that. Because there have been a lot of religious leaders throughout history who were homeless wanderers.
Or got a whole lot of something for nothing.
Yeah. But specifically, there have been a lot who were ostensibly homeless and wandered around preaching.
Yeah.
Lots of those to pick from. And if you want to pick with somebody who doesn't quite fit that definition of bum, justify why.
Are you not going to share this one? Or
not yet.
Oh, okay. Ooh, we're going to wait?
We're going to wait until we have all the entries in.
Okay.
Now, at present, it looks like if you submit an entry, you will win.
You'll get a book.
So we need more entries.
And feedback. And pictures of your dogs. And or pets. And money. Right? That's everything.
Yeah. We do have feedback from Rich Gans on the website saying, Dustin, regarding your recent remarks on white Christian nationalism, over the last 50 years or so of my life, I observed that about 1/3 of the U.S. population is functionally stupid.
Yeah. I kind of had an emotional meltdown earlier today about that, actually. But yeah, it's when you don't have challenges in your life, you start to fall into an apathetic, blobby existence, and a lot of people are in that right now, I think.
There are a lot of... When you're dealing with the law of averages, there is a spectrum of human intelligence and if we want to say multiple types of intelligence, there are people who are all over all of those spectrums of intelligence. Specifically, as far as the ability to have enough intelligence to navigate daily life. Not everyone has that. And there is an issue where our systems to take care of those people have degraded over the years and not gotten sufficient support. But there is also an issue where there's a lot of people who are a little better than that.
But don't act like it.
And they still vote.
Yeah. And they deserve to vote.
Yes.
They have the right to vote.
Yep. Because we don't want to require IQ tests for voter registration. The solution on that is everybody else also needs to vote.
Yeah.
We don't want just the stupidest people voting. We need everyone voting.
Yep. So if you are giving up on the system and it's all the same anyway, you have the ability to reason through why that system is bad.
Mm-hmm.
If you have that ability to reason and logically come to that, you need to vote because that means you do have intelligence. Your opinion does matter. And you know that in the end of that, no, it's not all the same.
Mm-hmm. And if you don't vote, then actually your opinion doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because you opted not to matter.
And nobody wants to not matter.
Right. So anyway, if you want to contact us, atheistnomads.com/contact, or use the SpeakPipe button to leave us a voice message. Email us at contact@atheistnomads.com. And if you want to support the show, you can find out how at atheistnomads.com/donate or at patreon.com/atheistnomads. That's it for this week. Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you, Dustin.
And
Thank you, Rocco.
And until next time, remember, not all those who wander are lost. Thank you for listening to another episode of Atheist Nomads. You can find show notes and contact information at atheistnomads.com. Follow us on Twitter at Atheist Nomads, and like us on Facebook at facebook.com/atheistnomads. Please subscribe to the show in iTunes, Stitcher, or your podcatcher of choice, and while you're there, feel free to leave us a review. Theme music is courtesy of Sturdy Fred. Until next time, this has been the Atheist Nomads.